let's talk about vision. When you think about it, you probably think about your eyes, right? But what if I told you that seeing is actually one of the most ridiculously complex things your brain does? And what happens when that whole process starts to break down? Well, that's what we're going to explore. And it's going to change how you think about everything, from medicine to architecture and even to technology. Our journey starts with this one single medical case that just forces you to see the problem in a whole new light.
Okay, so let's set the scene. We're starting in an emergency room with a case that really messes with the basic definition of seeing. It all begins with what looks like a simple accident, but trust me, the real story here is so much deeper.
So here's the puzzle. You have a patient who comes in after a fall. But the thing is, this isn't the first time, not by a long shot. And the doctors notice something really specific and, frankly, very strange. She physically cannot look up. Right away, you know this isn't just a simple injury from the fall. This is a huge clue pointing to something much, much bigger. And the clues just start to stack up so fast. We're talking a long history of falls, that bizarre inability to look up, a backward tilt of her head probably to try and compensate for it, and she's just really unstable on her feet. Add in this very distinct staring look because her eyelids are pulled back, and suddenly all the symptoms start pointing away from her eyes and straight towards her brain.
To solve this mystery, we've got to leave the ER and head into the world of neuroscience. Because the answer isn't in her eyes. It's hidden in the brain's super intricate control system that tells our eyes what to do.
The heart of the issue here is a condition called supranuclear gaze palsy. Now, the key word you got to focus on is supranuclear. It literally means above the nucleus, and that's our biggest clue. It tells us the problem isn't with the eye muscles themselves, or even the nerves that are directly plugged into them. Nope, the problem is way higher up the command chain, in the brain itself.
The easiest way to think about it is like this. It's not a hardware problem, it's a software problem. The hardware, the eyes, the muscles, all the physical parts, they're working just fine. The problem is the software, the brain's incredibly complex signaling that's supposed to tell the eyes where to look. Those commands are getting corrupted or they're just not getting through at all.
So how do doctors actually confirm this? Well, they use this fascinating and kind of weirdly named test called the doll's head maneuver. They gently move the patient's head and they're testing a really deep reflex. If the eyes automatically move in the opposite direction, it's perfect proof that all the hardware is working. It's a simple, brilliant move that isolates the problem directly to the brain's software.
And just like that, the diagnosis becomes crystal clear: progressive supranuclear palsy. It's a neurodegenerative disease that hits the brain's command center for eye movement, for balance, and for speech, which explains every single one of the patient's symptoms perfectly.
This one patient's struggle, it actually reveals a much, much broader challenge. Because if our biological vision is this fragile, it really makes you ask a critical question. How should we be designing the world that all of us have to live in and navigate every day?
And this is the real million-dollar question, isn't it? It forces us to think way beyond just physical accessibility, things like ramps. We have to start thinking about how the world is perceived visually. Because for millions of people out there with low vision, the design of a space can literally be the difference between safety and serious danger.
And that brings us to this really important concept: visual accessibility. It's a total shift in thinking. I mean, sure, a staircase physically exists, but if its edges are completely invisible to someone with low vision, then it's not visually accessible. It's all about designing for perception.
Now this gets us to a really crucial technical point. For a long, long time, designers just focused on illuminance, which is basically how much light you shine on something. But that's not what we actually see. We see luminance, the light that bounces off of a surface and into our eyes. And let me tell you, this is a total game changer for accessible design, because it's all about what a person actually truly perceives.
Now, to make this practical, researchers came up with a metric, the Hazard Visibility Score, or HVS. This isn't just some vague idea. It's a real quantitative tool. It lets designers actually measure how visible a potential hazard is for people with all different levels of vision loss. It's pretty cool.
Okay, take this staircase as a perfect example. The original design has a pretty low HVS. But look what happens with each small change. You darken the floor to create more contrast, the score goes up. You add dark baseboards, it goes up again. And then you add those simple white strips to the stair treads, and boom, the visibility score goes way up. This is luminance-based design in action. You're making the world safer through deliberate, measurable choices.
So we've kind of established that our own vision is pretty fragile, and that designing our world better can really help. But what if we could go beyond just accommodating our limits? What if instead we could completely transcend them using technology?
Now, I know this looks like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but this is a real tool that first responders are using right now. It's a throwable 360-degree tactical camera that gives them a complete, real-time view of a dangerous environment before they ever step foot inside.
I mean, the capabilities here are just incredible. You can toss it into a collapsing building, lower it into a tiny space, and it sends back this perfectly stabilized, all-seeing video to an entire team at once. And get this, it creates its own wireless network, so it works even when all other communication is down. It's truly a powerful extension of human sight.
And the impact is just huge. We're not just talking about cool gadgets here. Research from McKinsey shows that these kinds of smart public safety technologies can reduce fatalities by up to 10% and cut crime by a whopping 30 to 40%. This kind of tech-driven vision is literally saving lives.
And here, you can see exactly why this stuff matters so much. In a chaotic disaster zone, situational awareness is everything. Technology that lets responders see into voids, around corners, and through rubble without putting themselves in danger, that gives them a massive advantage in finding and rescuing people.
So after all that, where does this leave us? We've gone from the inside of a single patient's brain to the design of our cities, all the way to the frontiers of technology. And it all seems to be pointing to a really radical new way of understanding what it even means to see.
What we've really seen today is that vision isn't just one thing. It's this incredibly complex and fragile process inside our brains that we have to understand. It's an interaction with our environment that we can and absolutely should design better. And finally, it's a sense that we are now actively augmenting and expanding in ways we never thought possible through technology.
And this leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. We started this journey with the fragility of our own neurological vision, and we saw how just being more thoughtful in our designs can make the world safer for everyone. But now, as technology gives us the power to see almost anything, anywhere, the challenge totally shifts. It's not just about what we can see anymore, it's about how we choose to look. How do we use this incredible new power of sight to focus on what actually truly matters?